Madam President, I ask consent that the bill be reported, that the Gold Star Families Voices Act be reported.
Morning business is closed. Under the previous order, the Rules Committee is discharged from, and the Senate will proceed to consideration of H.R. 4511, which the clerk will report.
H.R. 4511, an act to amend the Veterans Oral History Project Act, and so forth.
Under the previous order, there will now be 30 minutes of debate, equally divided in the usual form.
Madam President, I'm pleased to be here to talk about this bill. First of all, following up on what my friend just talked about on opioid abuse, I want to particularly thank you for the leadership you had on that issue. It really is the chairman of the Appropriating Committee that looked at this really a year before we had any legislation. It was largely your effort that made us triple the amount of money that we were committing to this cause over a year ago, and I thank you for understanding this and advocating for it as one of the 2 or 3 earliest members to really bring to the attention of the Senate that this is a problem that affects rural America, it affects urban America, it affects small states and big states, and thank you so much for your leadership there. Because of that, last year we had a 284% increase in the money committed to that. We doubled that amount again this year. So assuming we are able to move forward with the Labor and Health and Human Services bill this year, it'll be virtually a 600% increase. And we're already halfway there, and that first half was largely because of your understanding of this issue, and I'm grateful to you for that. On the bill that's before the body today, I'd ask my colleagues to join me in supporting the Gold Star Families Voices Act. The legislation passed the House unanimously in September. I hope the Senate will do the same today. In 2000, Congress created the Veterans History Project at the Library of Congress. That project was designed to collect and catalog the stories of American war veterans. The purpose of the project was to, quote, preserve the memories of this nation's war veterans so that Americans of all current and future generations may hear directly from the veterans and better appreciate the realities of war and the sacrifices made by those who served in uniform during wartime. To date, Madam President, the Veterans History Project has collected the oral history records of over 100,000 veterans who have served in the military since World War I. 100,000 stories preserved that wouldn't have been otherwise. As important as and extensive as that project is, as important as those 100,000 memories are, today the project only includes firsthand narratives. Now, what does that mean? That means that only people who are telling their own story are included in the stories that we have created and have been able to secure because of the Veterans History Project. This effectively excludes the stories of veterans who didn't return from the battlefield, the men and women who lost their lives defending this country. This legislation would ensure that the stories of veterans who made the ultimate sacrifice would now be included in the archives. And how would this work? This bill would allow the family members of veterans who are missing in action or who have died as a result of their service to participate in the project and tell the stories of their loved ones. Immediate family members who can participate include parents, spouses, siblings, and children of veterans who were not able to tell their own story. We wouldn't be who we are today if it wasn't for the acts of courage and selflessness of our fallen heroes. We owe it to them, but we also owe it to their families to know of their names, of their deeds, of the honorable service they gave the country, and we need to preserve those memories. The families of these fallen heroes are in the best position to share their stories so that future generations of Americans may never forget the people we owe our freedom to and our opportunity to that have not been able to tell, have their story told up until now. I think this legislation will make a great program even better and hope my colleagues will agree. I want to thank the American Gold Star mothers for fighting to make this bill a priority. And I'd like to thank Congressman Chris Smith, who introduced this legislation in the House and who's been its ultimate champion. I was happy to be able to lead this bill through the Rules Committee, and I urge all my colleagues to join me today in helping to honor those who made the ultimate sacrifice and make sure that their stories and those of their loved ones become part of this historic record.